call to order the regular meeting of the Carrabelle Community Redevelopment Agency. It's Tuesday, May 16th. It's 1:33 p.m. for Carrabelle City Hall. And I would like Commissioner Allen, if you would please say the prayer and then pledge allegiance to the flag. Thank you.
Our Father, who is in heaven, hallowed be thy name. There is no education. Give us those things that we need for life. Our children should ask you to do this in church. Wisdom, bless the decision of us right now. Our city. Yes, those who do our God.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a roll call today. We have Commissioner Allen and Mayor LaPaz, Commissioner Mathis, and Bo May. Did everyone get to see the minutes and review that? Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes by Commissioner Allen. Do we have a second? Okay, and a second by Commissioner Mathis. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? And that motion carries. And then we'll move on to staff reports from our CRA Director.
I've been doing the research for the owner of the small brick building on Marine Street, and it appears that it sits in the middle of the city street that has been abandoned. And if it would sit closer, normally when we abandon a street, half the property goes to one property owner and half the property goes to the other property owner. And if it would sit closer to one side or the other, but it looks like it sits dead in the center. So I'm not sure if we're going to have to get a survey done to see who the building actually belongs to, because like I said, from looking at it, I can't tell. It looks like it runs right up the middle of the building. So we're still working on that. Right now I only have one outstanding CRA grant, and that was for Mr. Rayer in the old hospice house building. He finished all his work and we got a good hard rain and it looked like it washed away, so we asked him to get the contractor to come back and put some landscape timbers to keep all the rock or whatever he's used, shell or whatever it was, to keep it back in line. So he said that he was willing to do that, and he's still working on that project. Report on our CDBG commencement documents for Northwest Avenue B project. Fred Fox mailed them out. We got them the end of last week. They have been signed and sent back into the state. So we're waiting to hear before I go on that. Everything looks like it's moving forward.
All right, does anyone have questions for Ms. Courtney? Okay. All right, then we'll move on to our city attorney. Do you have anything?
I do not.
And then is there any public comment? Any public comment? All right, we will move on to item number 1, new business. And it concerns the PDA computer device that needs to be replaced in the clock tower at Veterans Park. This was discovered on an annual inspection by Verdin Clock Company. The replacement cost is $5,265, and the annual inspection fee is $500. Discussion and possible action.
And Mr. Wisner's here, and he actually met with the technician that came out, so he could probably give you more detail than I can.
Okay, would you would like to?
Yes.
Would you come up and
Sure.
so, and he'll need the vote, but you can supervise with the microphone. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. My recording has to pick it up.
Check. Is it on?
It's on.
Yes.
Switch on it.
Yes.
Now you're pushing the connection. That's the wrong button.
Okay.
Now.
There you go.
There you go.
Oh, that sounds
Okay. Yes, I went down and talked to him while he was doing the inspection, and we had a problem with the battery on the OPDA. The OPDA is an HP model and is approximately the same age as when the clock was put in. It has been replaced once. I did find out that they're still available, but they're still an extremely old model. If you put another one back in, it's going to do the same thing. I got a call from Pat this morning, who donated the clock, and she said that she was down there yesterday at 10 o'clock. It's not doing anything. It's not chiming. It's the same problem, and since I was in Crawfordville this morning, I couldn't do anything about it. But I'm assuming it's another battery problem again. So when I was talking to the guy who was doing the inspection and the looking over everything, which took over an hour, we were talking about the fact of replacing the Carrollton system, which is a system that's in there now, with a new system that they've come out with called the Town Crier. It has the same number or more of the songs and hymns that are both in a bell model and also just a regular chime model. But it goes with a brand new system that does not use a PDA or a Palm Pilot, is essentially what they are. It is all built into a remote system, so it's easier to maintain. You replace both the speakers, the amplifier, and that PDA with a brand new system. I could replace it, and you save $500 or $600 in doing it, but I would not recommend it. I recommend that it be done professionally. That way, you have a warranty behind it, and it's only $500 or $600, and you're guaranteed for a year, 2 years, 3 years that it's going to be working correctly. I've looked it up. I've done research in it, and it's an absolutely superior system to what we have right now. And it will allow that clock to go on and be usable for many more years from now. The way it is right now, it's hit and miss because the antiquity of the system is running. It's just getting older and older and older.
So is the PDA then, you're just suggesting not even just to forgo that suggestion?
We can change it again. We can change it over and over again because you can go on eBay and continue to buy them. You can buy them in lots of 10 if you wanted to, and they would cost you probably $70 a piece, $60 a piece. But the problem is that the batteries, if you buy them from them, they're $85 a piece. If you buy them offline, you can probably get it for $30 a piece. But what they're doing is the things are very sensitive to heat and they're swelling. And once they start swelling, they're no good anymore. And as we've seen in them, you just keep going through them. And they're very expensive. They get to be very expensive after a while. And it's just it's an antiquated system. As a matter of fact, the PDAs that were the Blackberries and things like that have just been outdated for a number of years. You can keep doing it.
And so the Town Crier system is the proposal to replace
It's the new generation.
and that's the 5,000.
5,200 and some odd. He quoted me 5.5 when I talked to him, and so when he came back to 5.2, I thought it was a lot better. And when I got the invoice from it, he allows us to pay for it in the beginning amount and when it's finished amount. So just halves it, which makes it a little bit easier to do as well. So,
And does it have a warranty?
yes, there's a warranty on the workmanship as well on the system. I don't know exactly what it is. I turned it over. I don't know that it's listed there, but probably it is. And you can always call with the direct number to give you an idea as to what you want to do. And I don't know exactly. They have a representative down in South Florida, so it's a faster installation of waiting for them to come from Verdin up north. Plus their guy that did the repair on this one, or the service on this one, I believe he even comes out of Panama City, or South Georgia, or something like that. So he may even be the one that does the installation of the new system.
3 years. Let's see, warrants each product to be free from defects and materials and workmanship for 3 years following installation. And then the Verdin folks would have to come and do any repairs. Is that?
I assume they would do the same thing that they did before. They would send a book, a manual, and it's electronic. If any of the parts would go bad, the parts would have to be ordered through them. But as far as maintaining it or resetting it, I'm perfectly capable of doing it like I did with this one. It's essentially a computer. And if you have the maintenance manual on it, it's pretty easy to figure out. And I understand why the city wouldn't do it before is because it requires a consistency of reading it and doing it over and over. It's like anything, you know, you do it once and you wait 6 months, you have to completely relearn it. But it's like anything, you know. But I didn't have any problem by consistently going down there and checking it out. You know? So I would more than be willing to take care of it again. And I think at this point, you know, it would put us in a situation where we would have something that would last without fail for a lot longer time than if we just switch over to the PDA. There's another problem with that clock down there too that they can solve. It's been there 8 years. I have greased everything because, you know, it went down for a while. It didn't work at all for a while. That meant everything had to be greased and re-greased, and which I did for sure to get it started again, you know. But they'll come in and do an absolute overhaul of all of that when they replace that audio system. And that will be to our benefit as well. They'll make sure that clock is in absolutely A1 condition, which again is to our benefit. The clock will run better or just as well as it did when it first put it in. So that's a plus.
And the annual inspection, is that required then to keep the warranty up?
I do not know.
Okay. We need to put that in the budget.
Yeah, I would assume, but I would assume since it's guaranteed for 3 years, that would be their responsibility for the first 3 years.
Get you down here where we might be able to get money from, because, and this needs to be done, it's not working now, right? It needs to be done.
I just got the call this morning, and she said that it's not chiming or whatever. Now I'll go back down and check it tomorrow morning and see what's happening. Whether it got offset or something, I don't know. But it was chiming when the guy was here, what, 2 weeks ago? Something like that. So maybe something's just gotten off, and I'll just go reset it tomorrow to make sure it is. And I'll even set up a song or two going to make sure that it's playing. But it's that frequency of stopping that bothers me about it. And evidently bothers Pat Roderick as well.
Keisha, can you pull the budget up and?
I have it up.
Okay.
I suggest using maintenance and repair.
All right. And now we had put money there to get, it's not happening yet, Duke Energy to, you know, redo our light poles for Christmas trees. But we can, when we start on our budgets, I suppose we can reallocate money. So that's, we have the money there, maintenance and repair, the money's there. Looks like we've only used about 1,500 out of it.
Right.
Well, I'm in favor of what I'm doing.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Allen to go ahead and replace the PDA computer device with the town crier device for the amount that we talked about. We have a second,
I'll second.
and a second by Commissioner Mathis. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. And thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Weisner, for your report, for being here, and thank
welcome.
you for looking after that clock every week as a
You're welcome.
volunteer.
Don't mind at all.
All right, we have no old business at this point, so we'll move on to Innovia Consulting Group and their progress on the Avenue C project, discussion of possible action and changes.
Thank you. The ad for bids will run in the Times on the 25th, which is Thursday, and the 28th. On Sunday, it will run in the Times and the Democrat. And then also on Sunday the 4th, June the 4th, will run in the Democrat. So that's twice in the Times and twice in the Democrat. And then bids will be due on the 13th. Your CRA meeting in June, you have that date established?
It would be June 20th.
Okay, so the bids will be due ahead of that meeting in June. So we will be able to make a recommendation at that meeting.
All right. So, are there any questions regarding that? Okay, so we don't have any action to be taken, so we'll just move on to item 2, and that's the Northwest Avenue B project with the CDBG, and Ms. Courtney has reported the commencement paper. So, where do we move from here then?
Well, I spoke with Patrick Howard about the next steps. He says that when that document is received, it will take his agency about 4 weeks to execute it. Fred Fox needs to complete an environmental document. He may have already done that. I don't know. I know he was working on it at one time. But that document needs to be complete before the state can execute the agreement. When the state executes the agreement, then that contract is good for 2 years. That's a 2-year period. So we will begin to prepare bid documents. Actually, we already had done the majority of that work previously. So we'll prepare to put that out for bid when that contract is executed.
Okay, so more towards the fall time, fall or end of the year.
Like late summer.
And so what about design and all of that? You all have done some work on that?
Yes, absolutely. We have, and put together bid forms consistent with the grant documents. So, yeah, a lot of work already has been put into that. If there's any public involvement that the board desires ahead of that, then we would need to get on schedule.
And that's true. If we want to have, we might, Mr. Large has suggested that before, that it's going to affect a lot of folks and what we have to be at some of the side streets that we might want to have the public come for some type of, I don't know, would it be a workshop or just an educational style?
Right, and we've done that, as a firm, we've done that for many roadway projects. So, you know, we would have not necessarily a presentation, but we would open a meeting for the public to come, say, between 5 and 7, or set some hours. They can come anytime. And we'll have members of our staff here, of course, whoever from the city would like to be here. We'll have role plots of the project and explain what we're doing. And they can fill out comment forms. We have a comment box, they can leave it in there. We'll assimilate all those comments, and if there are any items that need to be addressed, then we can do that. And actually, if they provide an email address or phone number, we can contact them in return in response to their comment. So I think it's been a successful format.
So, something like that, the fee for that could be used out of the actual budget line item, is that possible?
That's a Fred question. Fred.
There will be, there's funding, so. Do y'all think you might want to have something like this that would help explain to the public what's going to happen along after the meeting?
Communication, obviously.
Yeah.
Yes.
When do you think is the time to do that?
Ahead of bidding. So I think as soon as
Oh, my goodness.
I think
Last week.
as soon as that agreement is executed, then I think by the state, I think that would be the time to schedule.
Okay, so that might be July or something.
I think so.
As soon as it's done. Okay. Well,
And there may be some notice requirements that each department could advise us on, make sure we provide the proper notice.
so you say to do it before the bids are sent out,
I think that's wise.
but you're wanting to send the bids out.
I'm not clear about the state requirement for the timeline for bidding after it's executed, so I'll find that out first to make sure that we're going to meet that. So I think the decision on the date might be a little fluid right now.
Well, when we have a kind of a date in mind, I'll ask for a motion to do that. And we'll maybe in our next meeting. Is
I
that
think that's good.
And I don't think there's a timeline for bidding. I think we just have 2 years to finish the project.
Okay. Do y'all have any questions for Russell? We'll put that on the next agenda. All right, thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can put our comments into. Okay, so then we'll move on to environmental consulting, technology, and item 1, the Green Street Triangle parking lot, and report on the progress of the bidding schedule, discussion of possible actions to changes to the student conference.
Okay, we had our pre-bid meeting last Thursday. We did have one contractor show up, which was Northport Asphalt. We do know that 2 other contractors have picked up a set of plans, so we know 3 for sure. It was also posted on VIA, so we're not sure if anyone's pulled it off of there. I guess we're going to track that one. There was a couple comments that the contractors brought up. So just a matter of whether they can use some recycled number 57 rock, and just pointing out how many bollards we want to put around the utility poles that are going to be moved. So other than that, there really has not been too many questions. And we haven't received any other new ones that are due today, as far as I know. The bids are due to the city on May 30th, next Tuesday, 2 weeks from tomorrow. So we're going to open it that day, and then so we'll bring it a recommendation in front of the CRA board on the June 20th meeting for approval for a contractor.
Does anyone have questions for Susan on that? I have a question. Now, they want to know what did you say around the utility poles?
So we're going to put some Yeah, there's, I think it's in the 30s, I believe, yes.
That's the last one I've seen.
Correct, yes, yes. Right. But I think I've got one too.
And I just wanted to mention, and I had mentioned it before to you, and maybe she had a chance to mention it to you. We have a cement plant here in Carrabelle.
Yes.
On Airport Road. If there's any way, to let them know in advance. I think sometimes they have to know in advance. They use them for 15 truckloads on our slab for the fuel tank relocation. But they didn't know, they weren't notified in advance on Campbell Johnston's foundation, so they Campbell Johnston was paying to see it. And it's gonna be a special, I guess I'd call it a recipe for the porous
correct.
cement, so they'll need to know that.
Right. And we were gonna put that in the agenda that, the suggestion would be to try to use the local.
Yes, that's, right, and they produce the 15 truckloads, They have to make sure they got the mix right before they start loading up the trucks. I learned a lot with that project, so
Right.
they were able to do it.
That's what we're trying, we'll get the specs on what's going to be required to make sure that as long as they can make the batch, then it shouldn't have any problems. I think so.
You have
The
any
one contractor that came to our pre-construction meeting, he agreed to try to work that out.
Okay, that would be great. And how many truckloads do you think it would be?
I'm not sure. I know they've got it calculated. We have I think it's in our plans, how many yards of concrete.
Yeah. All right, are there any other questions on the Green Street Triangle?
May I ask a question in
Yes,
relation
sir.
to this? Now, this is kind of a what's the final date for this being paid?
We don't have a final date yet. The bids will be in on we'll put the decision on June 20th, so hopefully they can start construction within a month after that. So we're probably looking at maybe August, maybe?
August. Has there been, when this is paid, and this is completed, has there been any consideration on the part of you guys for charging a ramp fee after all of this is done?
We've talked about it, when it's come up.
This is a perfect opportunity to start setting something in place. This is an outlay, and that's a way to bring it back, get the money back. And it doesn't have to be outrageous, and it could be exemptions for locals, and it could bring in a lot of this money that's going out for this paving. And I just want to suggest it at this point, because that's a very good thing that's happening. So you utilize that.
Yeah, we've talked about it many times and talked about the other locations. I may have a ticket with me that I got when I was at one of the St. Mark's boat ramp. And how they do it, and they just go on an honor system. They don't really have their police over there checking, it's an
Well, I
honor
think an
system.
honor system is good, but I tell you what, there are people in this town, me included, who would give their time to make sure that honor system works. And if they're needed, I'm sure they would come forward, at any time to make sure that the city, which I understand and know needs money, to utilize the money, would not be stiffed on a program like that. And we have a lot of people going through that ramp, and yet there's been a lot of money put into the improvement of that entire Marine Street area.
But just the ramp in itself
I
is
know,
expensive
I know.
to me years
It
ago.
took twice to make it, build it.
And
So-
Appalach does charge on the honor system that they like hire policemen and hang tags up, but that's on the honor system, and their police don't check on that.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of ways of doing it, but we're missing a bit here. Because I live so close, and I see how many people park even in my street, you know, all the way up from there. We're missing a big step on getting some of our money back.
And Mr. Hartman, would that be an issue that the commission would need to address?
Yep, the commission would address it. I was just talking to Courtney that we need to determine the funding that was used to do any particular piece of it and to make sure we can charge, but there's certainly something we can charge for down there if that's the direction. But the parking, launching,
Now, the launching was done with grant money, is that right? Courtney?
Not sure.
Oh, not sure. Okay.
Part of it is, water management.
sometimes that can control whether you can charge for it.
But the boat ramp and the, I mean, the parking lot, the purchase of the land, that was done, so not grant money.
So that originate with the city commission or we make a recommendation?
We talk about the boat ramp, the city commission, we talk about parking, which is being paid for by the CRA, livestock apparel. That can be purely CRA. The real estate is titled in CRA. Right, so actually the parking would be CRA issue. Boat ramp would be city issue, city commission, parking would be CRA.
I'll leave you with.
So we'll have to
discussed
figure out.
that quite a bit.
Yeah.
I just think it'd be a great idea. I mean, it would be a good way for the city to get a lot.
Mr. Weissman, do you need this?
Thank you. And I'd volunteer.
All right. Well, we'll have to look in to see
Sorry.
if the boat ramp launch can be charged for, and then we'll take it to the city commission.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. Any more questions on the Marine Street parking triangle? Okay. Item 2, the Marine Street Pavilion and Waterfront Fishing Pier Improvement Project, report on the Land and Water Conservation Grant, and proceeding with commencement documents, discussion of possible action.
We finally have good news. As of May 5th, Courtney signed the agreement, so it was turned back into the FDEP. So we should be, they sent you a final sign, so we're still waiting for the final sign to come back. So this grant program, our funds will be available for 3 years from when the final executed signature is on that document. So I kind of did a little write-up, sorry it's a little long, but I wanted to make sure we got all the key bullet items out of the grant. It's broken down into different categories, of course, from what we could, budget categories. Our first task for this is going to be preparing a development of commencement. And I've talked to Courtney, we will need to have a 30-year title search done on the property. The deed is not enough documentation for us to submit on that. And so, and the rest of it is just submitting a documentation checklist, which is pretty easy, which includes the site plan, there's a certification form, the boundary survey, which we have that, and then the cost analysis form with supporting bid documents. We have 180 days to turn that in from the time when you guys get the executed document back. So that will be somewhere around October that we would have to submit that document. Because what we'll do, as soon as we get it back from Courtney, we can go ahead and get bids to do different items. And since we have 3 years, you can kind of pick of what your main priority might be, maybe for this year if you want. I know that the fishing pier is in pretty poor shape, but we can get bids for a lot of the items, and we can kind of break out what you think is like to have done first. And then once that gets submitted and approved, then we would proceed into going ahead with construction. So, like I say, we do have 3 years to get everything done, whatever you'd like to have done. The attached work plan is what was submitted, so it includes everything that we have suggested in there, which is removing the existing decking and replacing the decking on the former Coast Guard dock and the fishing pier. And they're gonna have them also evaluating the stringers to see if any stringers are in poor condition. Want to have the decking off, put it and fix everything. Also possibly a new roof on the pavilion. Some new lighting, we would like to have some new lighting on the pavilion and the former Coast Guard station. There's new picnic tables that are included underneath the pavilion. And then updating the restroom there. With a new window, some new fixtures in there as well. So there was like five different items that were within the grant.
And do we need a motion then to start working on the title search, the 30-year title search?
Well, I've already ordered that.
You have ordered that, okay. And what about a motion to start working on the commencement documents? We want to do that?
I don't know that we need a motion.
Okay.
We're kind of moving forward with that anyway.
Right.
I can go ahead and send you a little, because it was budgeted in there for this, so I just wanted to send you an official work order request.
All right.
And then we can probably, once maybe the signed agreement does come in, we can talk about, who, who we want bids from. So, for certain line items, you may want certain ones, just to see what we want to do for that. Because I think, just had the one boardwalk done, so maybe talking with people that have already been there might be, have them come back and do that. So.
All right, so, yeah, go ahead then and just move forward.
Okay, yes.
Never done. Ms. Tamara has something.
I was just wondering if it includes replacing the handrail going down the steps that has been knocked off and the end rail.
Yes.
And someplace to dock a boat that's sturdy.
On the fishing pier? I don't think there was on the fishing, there was one that was already close there now.
There were, and then they got ripped off.
Are you talking about in the old Coast Guard dock?
Yes.
There?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. I was thinking the fishing pier, not the fishing pier though, right?
The fishing pier has a banister on it now, but nobody docks there, right?
At the
pavilion.
at the pavilion,
Yeah.
not the pavilion.
Okay.
Well, only people who don't know what who don't live around here.
Yeah, like a little boat. Yeah.
Right, for the Coast Guard, yes, they do.
Yeah, the Coast Guard.
But then on the Coast Guard dock, it had banisters around it.
That's what I'm talking about.
People were tied up and pulled off and took the banister with them or something, so. Yeah, please.
I don't think there was one for the Coast Guard dock, I was not sure. So I don't think there is any down by the water now. I guess if we can always look to see cost-wise.
Well, there used to be large boats docked there.
Right.
And then there were smaller places to dock on the lower piece.
Right.
But all those railings and safety down the steps, all that's gone. It's been, as you say, taken away by people connected to it.
Right.
There's another thing too, on that floating dock, on the inside, it's very shallow there. I think it may have to be pulled out a little bit because of the low tide.
Not under this.
Boats, I walk like a drunk person. I walked my boat the other day.
Now, you're talking in the boat ramp.
Like a boat man, yes.
Now, that's not this project, but maybe, for next year or the year after that, we could budget that in our budget. Where to make that.
It would be nice for people like me.
Well, I know.
I get drunk, I probably walk straight, but.
Straight on.
Yeah, give me a few chops and try it.
Okay. All right, then, do y'all have any more questions for Susan on this item at all? Okay, well then just move forward and get her done. I really don't want it to take 3 years.
I guess for budget-wise, at least we have to do, something, start it out.
I will say we had, I don't know how many artists here with the plein air event, about 70 or so. And I talked to a lot of them and I told them, that this was going to be redone and that redone. And we're thinking about maybe demoing this. Oh, don't touch a thing. They don't want anything repaired. Don't repair the banister. Don't do anything. We like it just like it is. They want
The artists are crazy people.
I know they are. So, and it doesn't matter how dangerous it is. And if you walk through the ramp, like I did walk through a ramp on one of them down here, and no, just leave it like it is. They're not looking forward to our improvements.
So, one question, the allocation of the money across these 5 items, will that be determined? Process?
There's the part of the forms.
Yeah.
Yeah, the forms that were submitted with the grant was kind of estimating different line items, potential
So
costs.
each of the 5 items have,
Right,
A budget within it.
right, right.
Okay. Like the picnic tables, for instance.
Right.
Budget, that, the lighting. And these were certain categories that you had to have these categories to qualify for that grant.
Right, so
Okay.
we pulled it out of the grant application, and the restroom was the main one, because that's like the primary, one of the primary facilities was the restroom. So that's why we definitely did the restroom.
And if it doesn't, I would like to see maybe the old Coast Guard station cleaned up, painted up, kind of. But if we can't do it here, maybe the CRA can put some more money down the road to kind of get that sort of stuff cleaned up on the outside, like a facade.
Right.
is that, Susan, is the, or whoever thought, of the 5 items, are they, there's an estimate for each of the 5 groupings,
Yes.
and the total of all the estimates is $190,000.
Right, we tried to, because we had a certain number to start with originally, so we tried to make it fit with the state's match and the federal government's match. So some of it was just an estimate to try to get the grant in, but we definitely can. And that's what the purpose of this next, the documentation checklist, that's when you actually go out and get the formal bids for everything. But there was estimations put in the grant application,
So,
like say 20,000 for something,
so item 3 would have, say, a $35,000
Right,
budget from our point of view, so we got our estimates back, we've done,
right,
that's what it
right.
So the bids are going to have to fit in. If they don't, we're going to have to figure something out.
Right. But that's why that's why I kind of mentioned too, we do it for years, so they may not can't get done, because this was put in almost a year ago.
Yeah, over a year.
Yeah, so, but we can work on the primaries, like your primary category, if you want to have those concerned. We're going to work on things over a 3-year period, they don't all have to be done, That's why once we get the bids, we can talk about the bid, and see what's done, or if we can get it over.
Kind of like that FERDAP stuff. Anyway. All right. Okay. And could we have a couple of these packets for Keith Walden and Robin Cowles too, whenever, I'm sure they'd like to see this when they come back. Thanks. Okay, so we'll move on to CRA board projects, and just to, at this point, kind of talk some more about 2718 projects. We talked about a few last time, and does anyone have any suggestions at this point for some projects for 2018? Well,
specific projects.
yeah, specific projects.
Would the visitor center be a specific project?
Well, they could have a facade grant.
Right. What about, other external, like a second lobby or facade? I was saying something on the side of the building that was not necessarily a facade. Useful visitor center activities, stuff like tables, umbrellas.
But that's private property.
I know it's crowded property.
Yeah.
That's leading into a bigger question, which I don't quite know how to address yet. But as the CRA board, I think if Jimmy Crowder is not going to help us, that we need.
And make sure Mr. Hartman's listening.
Listen, Mr. Hartman. Listen, I got you. If Mr. Crowder is not going to help us, that as the CRA board, I think we should communicate with the TDC and insist that they do something about the visitor center. That
Visitor
one
center.
building, basically. It's the green building. It's in the Crowder property.
But it's not city. It's nothing
That's nothing to do with the city.
We don't know.
The TC.
No, but they
help fund it.
The TDC funds it with $40,000 a year.
And they rent space from Jimmy Crowder.
Right, they use that $40,000 to rent from Jimmy Crowder.
What's our role?
Our role in that is to improve the look and the function of that visitor center.
And that's-
However it takes.
Is that through the TDC? How does that involve Crowder?
Well,
We can't, I mean, he's renting
Well,
buildings.
I know, if Crowder agreed to do a facade grant, say a full 20 grand facade grant, just for instance,
Okay.
then we wouldn't have to even, we wouldn't talk to the TDC.
But we can't force them to.
No, we can't. But as a body, it seems like we need to figure out some way to do something that addresses that issue.
I know we've been through this before, is when we talk about the county.
Now,
Trying to
we
think,
can't
can the
even-
TDC apply? I mean, this TDC is the tenant. in that
even I
space.
can't hear. I don't know if the microphones are turned up.
The
They're all,
TDC
but it's just with the doors open, the fans going.
The TDC is the tenant.
They could say.
The TDC is the tenant in that space, and discussions with them have yielded no fruit.
The TDC is not it's the chamber, and the visitor center the chamber operates the visitor center.
Okay, and the chamber gets 40,000 from the TDC.
Gives it, yeah. Well,
No, I don't think the
Who's paying for that space? Who's paying Crowder for the?
the chamber is paying, is that right? The chamber is paying? But the money goes to the visitor center from the TDC. It goes to the visitor center.
The connection between the chamber and the visitor center is not that direct.
Okay.
I don't think. It is, that Lisa is there in the middle, yes, but exactly how all that,
And it operates the same in Apalachicola. The chamber and the visitor center are in the same location, and Mr. Solomon runs the chamber, and he handles the visitor center as well. But now the Maritime Museum operates the visitor center at St. George Island, and the Franklin County Tourist Development Council operates the visitor center at East Point.
but basically what I walked around this area downtown and I made a list of areas that we have had absolutely no response from. We can't help ourselves if they won't help us. And so we need to figure out a way to help them help us.
Well,
And as a body, can we do that?
Now, I would actually recommend that somebody, even if it's staff, talks with the tenant, which is, I guess, the chamber. And the chamber reaches out to their landlord, which is Crowder, and they coordinate between the two of them. If Crowder is not inclined, Mr. Crowder is not inclined to apply for a facade grant, you need to be a little careful. You can't, he needs to do it under his own power. There's nothing we can do to force that down.
No, it's my understanding that he would do that, would agree to that.
Then he needs to make an application.
But I have been to him and to his significant other and offered to meet with the significant other, offered to bring the documents, the grant documents, and they just don't follow up. They're not interested.
Can the CRA as a body communicate with the TDC?
Well, you can, or even I can. I'm a TDC member, and I could ask the administrator, but I think, as Mr. Hartman was talking, I think the administrator would probably say this exact same thing as Mr. Hartman just said, that they really can't tell the owner of the building what you have to do or you can or cannot do.
We could suggest to the TDC, if they're not going to improve a facility that they're using as a welcome center, that they move it to another location.
Yes,
Yeah.
that could be, yeah.
Yeah,
that
the thing
could
is,
be-
that's doable, but I don't think, at the same time, that a public meeting, what about this, we should discuss getting in between landlord and their tenant.
Okay.
If we don't want to interfere with that piece.
Can I do that in a private meeting with you?
Don't look at me, I didn't say it this time.
Well,
Well, maybe you want me, okay, Bo.
Yeah, I mean, it's a landlord-tenant matter, they can sort it out between the two of them.
well, it's a it's a city CRA. It is our objective to improve the way it
That's
looks and
right.
functions. And if the TDC won't help us do that.
And but there's no issue, if it's your personal opinion that, hey, you wish the visitor center was a little higher speed, talk to the tenant about it, talk to the landlord, they can get it figured out.
Yeah. You do
Remember
it.
years ago, a few years back, when I told you when you met with Crowder, I wanted to be there, I was gonna sell tickets. I met him one time.
I need to meet with him. I'll take this to the board, request my TDC representative to take this to the TDC.
I can't reply at this point.
I know you can. I know you can.
But,
She can stop taking.
Well,
All right.
One other
Okay.
question, and this is a Dan question. I'm not trying to get you.
No, it's fine.
Is there a way, I don't have this really thought out, or quite, that we can address encouraging entrepreneur types to deal with properties in the city that are non-functioning? I mean, could
Basically,
we create-
encourage investment and redevelopment of non-performing real estate.
Yes. So, is there, could we set a?
Absolutely. I mean,
Right,
that
proposal?
absolutely.
Could we
CRA,
put out an ad?
the Tallahassee CRA has done a lot of that in that, whether it be subsidizing businesses to go into certain space. The one that's all controversial right now is Piggly Wiggly on the south side of Tallahassee. They paid them close to $250,000 to go in. When Dixie just up the road said they're shutting down. People saying, oh, you're favoring one business over another. That's always a risk, but the CRA can absolutely kind of have its own economic development initiative and offer subsidies, essentially grants, all kinds of stuff to businesses to go to relocate here, go into space, and everything else. I mean, we just have to be careful, I think, overall, to, they say, you know, to try not to pick winners and losers. I mean, if someone else is struggling and working in an existing field, you don't want to come in and highly subsidize a competitor of theirs and ignore them, something that's already existing. But like you say, we have a lot of underutilized property, and the CRA can play a big part in incentivizing people to come in and use it.
Could we create some initiative kind of project that we would either conceptualize, hire a consulting firm to help us conceptualize, almost said that wrong.
We could, I mean, that would be a fascinating, I mean,
We're stuck in some ways downtown with what we've accomplished, and looking at next year, and I'm sitting there and thinking, how do we get this whole block of downtown that's non-functional to become more functional? And without naming names, it's pretty much in the hands of several individual
yeah, well,
owners.
this is the thing, I mean, if you're
Wait a minute, one second. And I'm not saying so much that they have to help us, but it's that we need to develop something where we can help people see the opportunity in this community, and have other people, other entrepreneurs, businesses do something that attracts.
yeah, I mean, think of this, something like this. I mean, I think, because I end up over in Apalachicola a couple times a month, and, you know, they do have, which we have some good dining establishments here too, but it's actually kind of really, I mean, it's destined. I mean, you have to truly, you know, and you can eat at a different restaurant every night and have, you know, white tablecloth, fancy meals in Apalachicola, which I'm not a long time Franklin County resident, but having owned property and businesses in Apalachicola before, I find kind of fascinating. And man, I remember when Michael's, the Italian restaurant, was here in town, and some of that is if the CRA board decided we would like to have a certain, we'd like to encourage certain types of businesses. Obviously, the one that pops in my head is a restaurant in town here, but someone, you know, there's a reason they're not here right now, and it's because we have a slow off season. We have, you know, how do you get that started? And the CRA board could definitely do a study, pay someone, hopefully not a lot, to identify viable and what do you call it, cost-effective types of businesses that should relocate to Carrabelle. If it was a fast food restaurant, if it was a Chinese food restaurant, I mean, whatever it is. And then we offer financial incentives for someone to relocate here so that they may struggle for the first year or two, but we help them through that so that they become a viable, strong business. I mean, that CRAs do that all the time.
A number of years ago, with the plan that was written for the maybe 2012, 13, the plan, I think it may have come from your company, I'm not sure. An economic study of sorts. There's an area in that I think there was a section of that conceptually is something that we could pick up on and just focus on in terms of the needs or the opportunities that could be available in this environment. In the process, you know, we would obviously have to talk to the property owners some, but we would also create a proposal of some kind or proposition. You know,
The thing is, what's interesting is you have property owners that are either not big on follow-up, they've been here a long time, they don't see it, or they're just so close to it, they don't see it. Really, the next period's coming. I mean, we've been through such a downturn. We can only go up from here. And with some of this grant money and everything, obviously they could take advantage of it, but they likely will not. And then there will be outliers that will, and that will spark everyone to get off the 8 ball before. I mean, I don't want to bring people up, but I know I ran into at lunch, in Fathoms, and said, how's business? And we went through that. And, he started, it seems like it was yesterday, but he started 6 years ago. That business is built up from essentially scratch, he renovated, this and that. But, he's a good example of sort of a new restaurant bar that's survived and done well and grows, is growing. I mean, I'd be curious, what he would do with, Grant. I mean, he did some minor improvements or anything, but I mean, what that could turn into could really be something. It could be a destination. And I'm saying, obviously, very grandly, is, I mean, there's not as many places to eat out over the water in Carrabelle as there should be compared to Apalachicola and other coastal towns. There's no reason for it. There's no reason for it. So,
Now, we need to keep in mind, our revenues,
Yep.
$220,000 a year. I mean, how much
Yeah, it's just
can
not-
you do to incentivize
exactly.
someone?
I think the first step is conceptualizing something that we think we see and put it into some form that can be shared with people who might be interested in taking advantage of it. And try to put those people together with our people who own the property for reasons of, we don't want to buy that property. And I'm not advocating anything where we're buying property. It's putting people with vision with people who have the property here and try to move that process along. Because we've had 3-4 years now, and we've done a lot. And I look at where do you move the rest of it, and how do you go forward with it?
Well, now, we're getting ready to shortly, maybe by next year, it will be full swing, the Northwest Ave B, that's all commercial district revitalization, and we may have some people that want to come in and invest or improve their property along that way.
So I guess the bottom line is a project for next year would be to allocate a certain amount of money to do something that's conceptually sales business oriented. That we most likely work with a consultant type, some that help us do that, so it's not us, we can't talk to each other all the time to do that, but we can have.
Now, I will tell you that the year document that you're referring to is a $50,000 document.
Right, but this could be less than 50,000, it would be more limited in scope. And frankly, if it were a good 50,000 document that we're on target and we had some ability work. Because I don't know how you address some of these other issues without doing something like that.
All right. We'll need to get that a little bit more refined and kind of figure out exactly what you want to address and what kind of a consultant, maybe some suggestions for consultants, and bring that project back.
Okay.
Yes.
It's a more general approach than going to the picking.
And Bo remembers it better than I do, and I remember working on it. But maybe we should just pull that study up. Let's take a look at it before we spend more money, because I think we've been hard at work on infrastructure stuff, but as far as economically, the city really, in my opinion, hasn't changed much since we did that study. So why? If we can look at the study and decide that have we moved forward, or we just kind of been in stasis as far as the economic development of the city since 2010, 2011.
I think that would be a good place to start.
We have an economic development agency, or council, excuse me, and they're just pretty much not meeting anymore. All right, let's move forward here a little bit. Do y'all have questions for Mr. Bowe? Okay. You okay?
I'm fine.
All right. All right. It's been brought up to the city commission to do some speed tables here, and I know these two gentlemen know about it, on 300 block of Meridian Street. Part of that is in the CRA district, and we talked about it on the city commission, and Mr. Bowe wants to know more about it. I've got a sample here of the same style project that Novia did out at St. James Bay. You've probably been on those going to the River Grill, those speed tables out there.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do, I mean, I just
Mr.
extrapolate.
Large said there would be, I think there was 4 out of St. James Bay, and you said 2 or 3 or something like that. He hasn't done a real study. We're still trying to figure out on the commission side who all has to be notified, how many people need to be notified so they can come and voice their opinion. But it would be, he quoted us between 6,400 and 9,600, and it would need signage and pavement markings. And I'm just mentioning this to you now as a possible sharing, cost sharing, whatever's in the CRA district for a project in 2018. And they, on the city side, the folks in that neighborhood that have requested these speed tables know that the city doesn't have money right now budgeted, and that would be a 2017-18 project. So that's just a project to mention to you. And then also there's another project on the traffic safety team side. It was brought up that someone that lives out that way has seen several almost near accidents where people are turning into the post office, trying to get into the post office on the outbound. And so they had us do a study through the Franklin County Traffic Safety Team, and the information was sent to the DOT, and the DOT sent back some information. I should have sent this to Russell to look at too, on, he says a permanent fix, this was from Brian Pettis at the DOT, a permanent fix to prevent long-term traffic would be for the city of Carrabelle to permit a safety upgrade to modify the opening on US 98. The opening should be reduced to a maximum width of 15 feet with curbing, sidewalk, sod, striping, and signage. And see the diagram that has a proposed concept, and I'll give this to Russell. And then it talks about an immediate fix right now that would help is to put stop signs and do not enter. Stop signs was this way, do not enter on the outside, on each side there, so that folks can see these signs, do not enter. Right now, there's one sign that says do not enter. It's right here, and it's really, it looks like it's telling you don't enter on 98. So that's that, if you all might be interested. Now, as a traffic safety team, we did talk about tractor trailer truck that has to pull out of the post office and pull out here and turn around, and if it was not, if the width of the drive was not wide enough, the tractor trailer might end up over on Crowder's property on that sidewalk trying to make the turn to head back that way or this way. So that would be up to an engineer, and that's for y'all to decide, and actually that whole parking lot could be repainted, the parking spaces, and maybe some arrows drawn coming in and arrows pointing out, so that folks could see exactly how the traffic flow should be easier than they see now. And do y'all have any comments on that?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
It is, well, this is a real conundrum. It is dangerous. I see people going through there in both directions for no reason other than using it as a cut.
Right there was Mr. Davis.
Just using it as a cut through without going to the intersection of 67 Tallahassee Street and Highway 90. And varying rates of speed all times of day from either direction, sort of willy-nilly, and it's dangerous. The short term, I was looking at where he suggested these stop, do not enter signs might go, and there is this one sign,
Yeah, that's what I said, that's it.
the do not enter, but there's no stop.
And it's facing the westbound traffic, so it almost looks like it's saying, don't enter that sidewalk or don't enter Highway 98. They don't,
The other side says stop, I can't imagine.
no, it doesn't, there's nothing there.
Oh, good.
So
Yeah, so don't drive on the sidewalk.
yeah, and he says turn that sign out facing Highway 98 so that the traffic can see it when they get ready to turn in there.
What about the traffic coming westbound, where would their sign be?
On the other side over by the post
Is
office.
that this one across the street?
Right here, see, let's see, I gave mine. He wants you to put two signs, stop sign facing that way and a do not enter this way, and stop sign that way and a do not enter this way. And then he says, when that's closed up eventually, to move those stop signs and still keep them on each side of it here. Because you could put those stop signs here.
The immediate difficulty is if you put a stop sign, do not enter there, and build curbs, which I don't see, I don't have that. Yeah, this is where they saw
Oh, yeah,
bike
yeah.
line would be the addition to curbs. Basically, the police station in that location is obsolete.
If you build those curbs there,
And you put do not park, do not enter, where do those people park?
well,
They all
where do
park
they
now.
park now?
Where do they park now? They park all over this thing. They park in the park, my two parking spaces, they park all over here. And in no particular direction. They just come down from Tallahassee or the other direction and they turn in there and they just sort of park wherever their bunch of kids want to get out or whoever. And they'll just stop the car like right smack dab in the middle of the thing. 6 people get out of the car and they'll go to the
Now,
phone booth. and they'll take
if the traffic was rerouted so that you could see it, maybe would they come around and come through the post office like they're supposed to? And could a couple of parking spaces be developed somehow with that extra curbing? Okay, the engineer is going to speak now.
yeah.
Just looking at the aerial, there appears to be in that wide moored out area where the stripes are on the side of the travel lane, there appears to be enough width there to provide some on-street parallel parking. So that would be a location for parking. You know, another thing I see that might be beneficial with regard to the police station is that reducing the width of that driveway would create some more usable area around the police station. I mean, basically, we would extend the
They would have to
sidewalk.
park to get in there.
Sure, and along with this safety upgrade, we could request to the department that we create some on-street parking there just ahead of the post office, just ahead of the driveway.
That would be right in front of the white
The vacant lot.
field. Right down there.
Yeah.
You know, I would think one of their considerations would be it's parallel parking there on Highway 98 and for a tourist parking spot on Highway 98. Yes, you know, these people tumble out of these cars. They don't just like pull in there and you know, get out and look both ways and see where they're gonna walk up. They come out, the kids are coming out, their wives and girlfriends and the dog, I mean, they come flying out on a Highway 98 parking spot most of the time.
Well, I'm hearing you, and that is always a concern. I mean, there is parallel parking, you can cross the street, and elsewhere up and down 98.
Yeah.
They do.
It's available.
Yeah, they don't, nobody uses that other parallel parking the way the people at the police
Please,
station.
go visit the police station.
And I went through this with Ms. Lillian, and I'm not gonna go to it.
She's still alive, though.
Huh?
She's still alive.
I know, I'm not gonna, I don't see any reason to readdress that particular issue. Mr. Matz's observation too about, and I spoke to, the trucks that supply Gander and Carrabelle Junction, the big trucks, both turn in that spot and then maneuver themselves across through the parking lot the wrong way, across Tallahassee Street to the alleyway, so that the back of the truck is then where they unload. And there is at least 2 or 3, I can name a couple of the trucks that delivers to those 2 businesses. And that's how that is always how they do it. They don't come from the opposite end of the alleyway and turn there by the Baptist church. I think they could make that turn if they had to. I bet I've walked up there and looked at it to see how much roundabout it takes. It is a conundrum. My recommendation would be the police station.
Well, the police station is here or there, or, well, I mean, it is.
It is. It is
But,
there.
but they are talking about that folks are turning in there and people are coming out and there's near accidents.
Almost every day.
2-way traffic on a one-way street.
Yes, you do.
It's a double lane dilemma.
So anyway, that's for consideration for the next go round. Consideration for the next go round. Does anyone else have anything to discuss now? Is there any other project suggestions at this point? So are there any other items that the CRA board members would like to bring forward at this time? Anything else? All right then. Okay.
Russell, on the cost of those speed things, was that total cost there estimated for all of them? 2 or 3 or?
Yes, and if not memory serves, I believe that was about 3,200 per speed table.
Okay. So there are 2 of them.
264.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson. That's what Mr. Jassy said and Mr. Massey at the presentation. He said they were worried about the kids. And then he did talk about, well, after a little bit, I talked and he mentioned that maybe it should be a sidewalk project. And then they talked about blind And so, and Keisha, when you had talked with Mr. Massey about the speed tables, did you suggest to him possible that it could be sidewalk you're
No, I
talking?
thought of that after the fact.
Okay, so we're talking here now about whether it would be a sidewalk project or, because they mostly talk about children in the street.
Right.
And so we're just trying to figure that out.
And
And
one rolled up each time went the road, and I said, well, I see, they won't kill us, that's for hell.
You can't have, a speed bump isn't gonna stop that, is it?
Yeah.
And I don't know how, you know, if you have a speed bump on the top and a kid
Yeah.
comes over and.
Them speed bumps is
Yeah.
gonna make the kids wanna go on that road even
Well,
more.
like I told him, I said, what would we have done? We went eased those speed gun and floored it to the next one and slammed on brakes, yeah.
Or if they come flying over and it's on the top of the hill and their golf cart or four-wheeler that we're not supposed to be in.
Bicycle.
I've come out from church,
They come over the hill fast.
What I do is, policemen,
Yeah.
money for the city. Stop the speeders.
they come in from that church, come north and don't stop. Right on this too.
Sidewalks are expensive. It's about $20,000 to do one sidewalk. CRA could do the sidewalk right there, and the city can have to do its logs, which will pay, or local option gas, but local option gas will pay the fee. All right. Got two different things. All right, is there any other items that we need to discuss here? Okay, may I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion
Are
to
you
adjourn by Mr. Mathis, and do we have a second? Okay, and a second by Mr. May. Any discussion? All in favor?
All right.